is unnecessary. Shabbat Shalom. I miss shopping for school supplies with my daughters. I miss the trip to the mall to purchase clothing needed or simply wanted for a new school year. I miss the excitement of the youngest students as they look forward to the first day and meeting their new teacher. I miss the angst of the teenager who simply wished that the summer would never end. Although I do miss all of the above, it's not a severe problem. So please do not call me and ask if I'm available to help. When I was a rabbinical student, on days when I did not have classes, I was a substitute teacher in the Cincinnati public school system. It was a very unique experience. I would receive an early morning phone call assigning me to a school and to a class. I was randomly placed in a place with subjects that I rarely had any idea in terms of content. I admit I was more a holder of space than an academic addition to the classroom. I enjoyed being with the kids, even if at times it was a hostile environment. You remember how you treated substitute teachers when they came into your classroom. On one of the most challenging days, I would explain that I was a student. They were students, and we should try not to hurt each other before the end of the day. I, and this is a fact, recall meeting with a group of teachers when I first arrived at a school. Before the day began, it was a junior high. One member of the faculty advised me to keep a paddle on my desk. I ignored his advice. I was kind of like cool in those days. I was appalled by his advice. The worst thing that happened to me in that classroom was that a student drew an anatomically inaccurate picture of me on the blackboard, which I ignored for the entire day, much to the entire classroom of students' consternation, who waited, I knew it was there, who waited for me to turn around and be either angry at them or embarrassed. Teachers are devoted. Teachers work incredibly hard. The hours are long, the stresses are many, and the responsibility when you become a teacher is beyond what most of us really consider when we think about our lives. What motivates the best of our teachers is that little child or that young adult sitting in front of them, and the recognition that they have the opportunity to truly impact the next generation. I'm sure if you're reading the news, you recognize there is a shortage of teachers today. And it's a problem that is growing more difficult each year. I only hope that the substitutes that they find will be superior to the young rabbinical student who at least turned his back on corporal punishment. This evening, when you leave here, recall a teacher who changed your life, whose interest in who you were and what you were doing is still a sweet memory. Teaching provides many opportunities. I often speak with teachers who decide that they want to see the world and teach in a different nation. Lisa taught in the Middle East a class of 10-year-olds. One day she was telling them a story about a little boy called Peter who lived on a farm and helped his parents when the school day ended. The whole class was laughing hysterically at her, she said, as she was speaking. It took her some time to realize they thought it was hysterically funny that she was telling a story about a young kid called Peter. They were seeing bread. Teachers who deal with children from different cultures, teachers who teach children who speak different languages, face a unique set of challenges. We are so very fortunate. Our children, those who live in Oakland County and around, are incredibly blessed that a high standard of education is maintained. Our schools are reasonably well funded. Finding teachers who are interested in teaching in these classrooms is not as difficult as it is in many other places. And our students, our children, our grandchildren are given every opportunity to succeed. Unfortunately, we are returning once again to an academic year when our educators face many challenges. Books removed from libraries. Who can imagine? Communities engaged in hostile debate about issues of gender, issues of identity, issues of values, and so much more. Now, if you've grown up in any community, you know there have always been issues in our schools. However, I do not recall a time when politics and education were mixed in such a toxic and hurtful way. And tragically, who could imagine that we take for granted the fact today that we must teach our children how to escape from a building, from a classroom, in an active shooter situation? Please God, may it never happen again. Please God, may we never know this. On this Shabbat, tomorrow, we will read the Torah portion, Shoftim. The one line that makes it unique is Tzedek, Tzedek Tirdof. Justice, justice you shall pursue. The repetition of the word justice reminding us of our responsibility to act justly. She's leaving us. It's okay. You see that little girl? She's adorable. She walked through. Mom's catching up. The repetition of the word justice reminding us of our responsibility to act justly when it is in our benefit and when it is not. The rabbis taught there is no word wasted in the Torah. Why justice twice? On the evening news, every evening, we see the faces of young people who have come to our country with their families in the hope of finding security and opportunity. The debate about immigration is heard daily in our news media. And it's not my intention this evening to engage this complicated issue. But as the month of September draws near, and our children are going to stores buying a new water bottle to replace one that still works to take to school, we must not ignore children who are living in poverty. We must not forget children who are homeless, living on the street. We must provide opportunities for them to walk into a classroom, be greeted by a teacher, and see the possibility of life unfolding in a positive way. Jewish history requires us to raise our voices. Our sages taught us that their one possession that cannot be taken away is what we are carrying, not in our suitcase, but in our minds. When we left from one place to another, often expelled, what enabled us to succeed, to live, and to thrive was the fact that we knew that education could be carried with us. Education was always a key to Jewish survival. Tzedek tirdof. Tonight, I want to use these words as a reminder to us of our responsibility to every child. Now, if you're looking at the children on the hills or the wanderers that come through our service, know that education at Temple Israel begins every day at our early childhood center. My wife and I feel so honored that it carries our name. Established in 1980, our first director was Bryna Lieb. With great wisdom, she worked with and trained our second director, Julie Eisman Levy, who is retiring but continuing involvement. So Julie, I have known, loved, and admired you and your family for many years. They are dear friends. Thank you for your years of dedication during the easy years, when the only problems were taking care of all of these youngsters in the hallways, and through the challenging years, the overwhelmingly challenging years of COVID, when it was difficult, but you kept our school active and our kids engaged. Our pledge to you is that we will continue to welcome the youngest of our students into the temple each day with the love you abundantly gave to them. And I want you to know that the best part of every day for anyone who works at Temple is when you see those little kids coming in, they're smiling. They don't realize that snow is a problem outside. They look at life with joy. Education at Temple begins with our youngest and continues with projects and programs for every age. On the first day of a school year, a teacher answered her student's question that her 3 favorite words were June, July, and August. Refreshed, rededicated, and devoted. These are the teachers who will lead all of our children and our neighbors' children into, we pray, a remarkable future. This is what our nation requires. This is what our country needs. Young people who understand the importance of education, and each one of us has a responsibility to be a partner. Shabbat Shalom.